Welcome to R&R Showtime with Robert
and Ryan.
And today we will be discussing the final episode of Loki season 1 for all time, always.
The season finale, as they let us know in the credits. And as I learned from a news article the morning of, because hey, I guess that's just newsworthy to just send to my phone.
Yep, I guess so. Well, let's jump right into it. First impressions. Can I tell you my first impression?
Good, you do it first.
Yeah. My first impression was I was right.
Yeah.
I was right. I mean, okay, it's not like, oh, I'm so insightful. Like, I saw so many things people didn't. Like, I was basing what I was seeing off of other things that I learned about the King and connecting, but I had some of these ideas independently. I definitely was like, I think it's going to, at the end, we're going to see King the Conqueror, his introduction, and split off in the multiverse. And I did not get that from watching a show. I learned about King the Conqueror and knew that he was a time-traveling villain. And that's why I thought it would make sense he would be in this time-traveling thing and why he would be behind the TVA. But technically, I wasn't totally accurate. It's not King the Conqueror. It's He Who Remains, which is a version of King the Conqueror. And he definitely makes a nod and says, I'm known as a conqueror and other things. But yeah, I just definitely was like, I'm so right. Yes, look at that. Multiversal, major ramifications for the rest of the MCU, blah, 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 like all the things I said. Go back and listen to the other podcasts and come back to here. And yeah, I was right. So that's, yeah, I like that. I like that I was right.
So what about the episode, though?
Yeah, the episode was still like, it was good. It was, basically it was exactly what I expected. And so that was fine. I almost, how last time I talked about the theory that it could be a Loki variant. I almost wish that was true. I
went into this episode hoping that was it. And then when I saw Jonathan Majors, I was like, oh, so it's Kang. Cool.
And I'll say, because it's like to say, oh, I called it. And then almost maybe like, oh, it really was just exactly like, it was like, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, looks like a duck, then it's a duck. It's kind of just like, well, yeah. If it looks like Kang's going to be the villain, then I guess Pang's going to be the villain.
But I like the twist that they put on it not being Kane. Mm-hmm. It's the good version of Kane, and we're going to see Kane the Conqueror.
Yeah. So, but it this directly sets up Quantum Mania for him to exist there. This directly sets up Multiverse of Madness. The multiverse now exists again where it basically wasn't existing before.
You know what it sets up more than any of that?
What?
It sets up Loki season 2.
Yeah, Loki season 2.
So, did you go into this episode? Had you seen anything that the season 2 was a thing, or was it that tease in the credits a surprise to you?
Yeah, that was sort of I think it was a surprise to me. I just imagined that this was going to be kind of it.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people thought, but I didn't get to go into the episode with that impression, which I think probably helped. Because I definitely think this episode's better than the last episode, but it doesn't have the finality that I think I would have hoped for had I thought it was the end of a miniseries.
Yeah, I would say that this finale is not, in my opinion, for me, not as good as Falcon and Winter Soldier or WandaVision.
Yeah, no, I was going to make the point that these last 2 episodes have basically pegged Loki beneath WandaVision for me in terms of the show I like the most within its season run.
Yeah, I would essentially agree. I just feel like we got all resolution, we got the reveal and everything, but it definitely was like.
But we didn't get all the resolution.
I guess, yeah.
Everything was left tied up to do next season.
But also, it's really set up all these other shows, all these other movies, the universe and what's going to happen next.
Which is fine. And you know what? WandaVision sets up other stuff to happen. It sets up the Multiverse of Madness with Wanda, and it sets up the Marvels with Monica. Yeah. And it also has the ties of what's Jimmy and Darcy gonna do.
Yeah.
And Vision all these loose threads, but there was like enough little bits of resolution that while I didn't love that finale, and I'd still put it above this finale. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think overall is still in my opinion, the weakest of the three, but I think it had the best finale.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier, like that's why I was like, wow, this is like not as, I mean, not only was Falcon and Winter Soldier kind of like action packed, but also just like had like a real resounding, like also a good resolution, and just like, you know, we got to see that Captain America reveal. Here we got a big reveal of like, oh, who's running the TVA, but it just kind of, I don't know, it went out, I don't know, it didn't come out really strong. It just kind of like came out how it was.
Do you want to get into the recap?
Yeah, let's just get in the recap. All right, so Loki and Sylvie are, enter the Citadel at the end of time, I think is what it's called or something.
Yeah.
They enter. Miss Minutes is there. I'm going to say this right now, that Miss Minutes coming out was like very sinister. I was very much like weirdly frightened of
it was almost like a jump scare.
Yeah, kind of. I was just like, what the hell? Like, and just like what she was saying, how she was saying, she was like, oh, he'll offer you all these things if you just, I was like, damn, this is kind of a lot right now. Like, I don't know. She was tripping me out there a little bit. But they're like, no, F that, moving on. And yeah.
Because Miss Minutes promises them like, hey, he who remains will grant you all that you've ever dreamed of.
Yeah. And they're like, nope, we want to go murder him. So they keep moving. They meet He Who Remains, which is, it's just him. Yeah, it's, what is his name? Jonathan
Majors.
Jonathan Majors, who we know is cast to play Kang the Conqueror
in Ant-Man Quantum and the Lost Quantumania, which was a bit like, it's weird that he got announced for that, like that they would let that leak when it kind of takes away from his appearance here in a way, because if this was just your tease at this character and like it, like the show plays it like it's not confirming it's Kane, because he slides in, oh, some call me a conqueror, which is enough for you like fans to be like, ooh, that's him. But like if you already know who that actor is, the second you see him, you're like, oh, cool, that's Kane.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, I mean, maybe that's on us for being aware of that.
I guess, yeah, but here's the thing is that like Marvel at this point needs to know that we're all going to be, everybody's searching, everybody's doing the theories, everybody like you need, I'm not saying like change your whole production for that, but like if you don't keep that in mind, you're going to lose a little bit of the impact here on what those reveals. Like there's so many people that are going to know, because as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, cool, I was right, it's Kang.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, they meet him and he's like, come with me, step in my office. And once they get up to his office, they're definitely, Sylvie's trying to cut him down and he keeps like warping out of the way. And once they get up there, he basically just starts laying it all out for him that he at some time in Earth's timeline discovered, the multiverses and went and met himself across them, and they collaborated and created great technology. And then they really just started battling each other. And the multiversal war was really just different versions of Kang, or at least, whatever his name is supposed to be, because maybe his name's Kang when he's the Conqueror.
He Who Remains is how he's referred to in the episode.
Yeah. So every multiversal version of He Who Remains begin to battle to defend and create their own multiverse. And at the end, he is
who remains.
He's the one who remains. But because he keeps his timelines from, shifting off to create an eventuality of another one of him, or another, infinite amount of him. Yeah. He basically clips the timeline to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Like his is the only timeline, and there will be no more of him that try to do it again.
So in a way, Miss Minutes' story, like the three lizard people didn't save the day, but like it wasn't a lie that the multiversal war occurred.
Yeah, there was truly a multiversal war, and he basically did stop it. He's prevented it from happening.
If we're to assume that everything he said was correct.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he goes, I mean, he's explaining this over time, and he's just exposing his strange quirkiness, really. He's just a really funky dude, like acting. I
mean, he's lived like 1,000 million something lifetimes.
Yeah. And yeah, basically about the end of it, he says, hey, and so here we are at the end, and there's two choices. You can either do what you wanted, which is kill me, or you can, and if you just think that killing me is going to be okay, that's fine. But if not, the other choice is that you guys can go back and be the benevolent rulers of the TVA. You guys can take it over and just keep it going as it is, and I'll just move on. But as long as this timeline stays fine, that's really the most important thing.
So this is the decision Loki and Sylvie have. But before we get into that, because this is pretty much end of the episode, leading, let's cover what's happening in the TVA, which is, first of all, Mobius shows up and confronts Ravonna, and basically they kind of have this face off of, like, Mobius is like, why'd you betray me? And then Renslayer's like, no, you betrayed me, and laid out the reasons why he was the one that betrayed her. But in reality, she did betray him first by lying to him. So that's what happened. She lied. He didn't trust her, but he was right to not trust her because she lied. So that's bullshit.
Yo, bro, why you betray me, bro? But bro, you betrayed me first, bro. But I thought we were bros, bro. Why you betraying me though, bro?
That's exactly how it happened.
Yep, that's pretty much exactly it. So
you got Owen Wilson's inflection perfect.
Wow, bro.
But yeah, so we get this like semi-tense confrontation. At some point, I think Ravonna tries to call for backup, and sorry, Hunter B-15's been showing everybody the truth by taking them to the original Ravonna in the sacred timeline, the actual person that Ravonna Renslayer is a variant of.
I like how they go back to that the pen, which was like 3 episodes ago, where he just randomly was like, a pen, North Jackson High School or something. I think that's what it says on it, North Jackson High School. And just a random, like, Mobius looked at that pen and was like, that's weird, and then clicked in his head, and he was like, I bet this is where her variant's from. Which begs the question, though. I don't know if it was confirmed or not. Does she know she's a variant? Like, she has this pen. So
I think she knew she was a variant.
She knew she was a variant.
I think so. But here's another thing.
I don't think she did either.
Here's another thing. What we still don't really know what Ravonna knew, when she knew it, how she knew it, what she knows. She just she seems like she knows more, but also seems like she's completely in the dark. So it's weird, and then so through their interactions, she can't get back up, and Mobius tries to fight her, stop her from leaving, and then she grabs a temp pad and leaves, and she says that she's
going in search of free will.
And I'm like, okay, I still don't know who she is and how she gained the information she has, what information she has. And it's a lot of I'm sure they will develop her further next season.
Yeah. Did you mention the part where Miss Minutes gives her the info?
I didn't know.
Yeah, so she requested from Miss Minutes, give me all the information you have about the beginning of time. And Miss Minutes gives her, again, this is Miss Minutes with this weird, sinister, and sentient voice too. Miss Minutes is supposed to be a AI, and clearly is, pretty advanced. But before, she's been in a supplicant, sort of helpful assistant mode, where she's like, oh, really? Da-da-da. You can hear the upward inflection in her voice. In this one, it's a downward inflection. It's a sinister, it is oh, he who remains will offer you this. It's very much different. And then she's like, here, this is the information you really need. He thinks it's what you want more. And that is a question right there. What is the information that she gave Ravonna, and where is she going? She said she's going in search of free will, and that was in reference to the conversation that she was having with Mobius, I think.
Yeah.
Where he said something, I can't remember exactly even how the conversation went, but the reference of free will made me think that she's going to find Kang the Conqueror. That is
and maybe those notes are his location in the timeline, because Kane has to appear in the timeline to become himself, which is a weird paradox to think of, that now there's a Kane in the sacred timeline that is our Kane, but our Kane had to survive the war. And I'm just going to stop right now because it's never going to make perfect sense because it's time travel.
Yeah, well, basically, the sacred timeline is a it is a flat circle, right? Like that's one of the theories of time is that like as a fourth dimensional being, you would look down on time as like a flat circle. It's just a thing that's all happening at once, right? And it would mean that at every instance on the single timeline of time, that Kang never, like if you look at it like he's an inventor, right? Like clearly some kind of scientist, that he never has the breakthrough. At no point is there any variation. This makes sure that thing never variates. And he never creates the multiversal like skipping thing.
So the idea is that this sacred timeline is the timeline where we get a faulty Kane who isn't a conqueror.
Yeah, basically we get a king that never accomplishes like what would be, you could say, his greatest achievement. And that's the only timeline that's essentially safe because it prevents him from ever interacting with himself.
Do we think it's because he doesn't make the breakthrough or because there are no multiverses for him to go to?
No, because I think that there have to be, well,
in the sacred timeline, there is no multiverse.
So yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Even if he could come up with the breakthrough, but it wouldn't work because there'd be nowhere to go.
Yeah, well, because it even says like, okay, there are certain branch offs, right? It does describe how there are certain branch offs, but they never like go towards the line. Like it's all about like them becoming. I guess maybe that actually is a good point. It probably is that the breakthrough is that he would have to interact with another multiverse for him to actually do anything. I think I saw a theory online that also said that maybe Ravonna is going to where Kang the Conqueror is. And that everybody says that like if you look at like a freeze frame from Ant-Man, how like in the background there's like a city in the quantum verse, right? And how like that is like a hidden city of Chronopolis. Yeah, I think that's what King the Conqueror's like city that he makes is supposed to be called. It's a hidden city of Chronopolis, and that King the Conqueror is there, hidden in the quantum realm, waiting for the moment when he who remains basically like stops monitoring the timeline so that he can just immediately come back. And so he's and so he couldn't come back because otherwise like the TVA would like prune him out and destroy him because he remains is like the ultimate at the end.
Yeah.
But now that he knows that he's gone, like Ravonna will go to that where he's hiding in the quantum verse or something, because the quantum verse is the TVA is outside of time, but the quantum verse is like within or in between time or in a quantum realm.
See, I presume that the TVA is within the quantum realm itself, but this is all wonky stuff we can save for our afterthoughts.
Yeah.
But anyways, Ravonna disappears. That's a season wrap on Ravonna Renslayer, and Mobius is left on the ground. And we return to the Citadel.
Yeah, where basically
Loki and Sylvie have a choice.
Yeah, they have a choice, and Loki is convinced, like, hey, we shouldn't do this. This has more.
See, he doesn't even say we shouldn't do this. He says, let's take a minute and talk about it. Let's think it over. Sylvie doesn't want to think about it.
Yeah, she's just like, emotion, rage. I want to kill him. This has been my goal for so much time. She is fixated on her goal, and Loki is like, no. Loki does basically say, he's like, I believe him. Like, I'm a liar, and I've known, like liars, and I believe that like this might not be the right choice. And I make an interesting statement, which I don't know if they said it before or something, but where it was like Loki's like, I can't be trusted and you can't trust.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like the flaw of both of them is like they want to love each other, but like he, maybe I think that might be even somewhat of a reference to his like dagger story, right? He's like, and like how they've described like their interaction was just like, she's like, I don't trust anyone, and he's like, nobody ever trusts me. Like and that's why I've never been able, either of them is able to find love. They want to love each other, but they can't because of that flaw there.
Yeah, it's the immovable object meeting an unstoppable force.
Yeah. But basically they battle, and at the end of it, Loki's like makes a plea to like just stop, and she is like,
he teleports himself onto her blade.
Yeah, and she does, but she tricks him, shoves him through a temp pad portal, and
you skip over what the trick is.
What's the trick?
It's not. See, it's the kind of thing where you don't think it's a trick at first, and I get the feeling that it's not completely a trick on her side, but they kiss.
Oh yeah.
That's not a small detail.
Yeah, yeah, I guess I wasn't a small. I actually might not even have noticed it or remembered. I mean, I guess it's not a small detail, but I totally forgot about it. Like, huh, whatever, they kissed, big deal, big whoop. Want to fight about it?
Shippers everywhere.
Yeah. So yeah, they kiss, and but she shoves him through a time portal, and yeah, she goes on. She kills King.
And I tell you, when I knew exactly what he was going to say before he said it as his last words, see you soon.
Yeah, exactly. And it really just leads leads to like the idea that maybe this has happened before. Like this is a loop.
Yeah.
Like he's known every time that they would come back, or he just doesn't know what happens afterwards. And that's why there's the opportunity to break the loop. I'm just assuming that there's probably like a loop here, right? He says, I'm going to see you soon because he's probably already seen it before. And he knows everything that happens in this timeline because he might have like this. I mean, the multiversal war might have occurred and like broken and been put back together. And that every time that's why Lokis are such a big fixation, because every time Loki shows up and then breaks the timeline again.
Maybe this is the first time the timeline's been broken because he doesn't know what happens after this given point, which I thought was an interesting thing to have he only knew what occurred up to a certain point, but I do have the question of the mechanics of that, but that's a little.
I think that's because it's a Nexus event.
Oh, because there is a choice. Like no matter what, they were going to go in and do all these things, but the question on whether or not they kill him or take over was up in the air.
Yeah, exactly. Like in either the timeline, they don't kill him and the timeline remains stable. They do kill him and it branches off. That like it in of itself is a Nexus event. Like, yeah, and that's why you can't see beyond it, because it's not a stable part of the timeline anymore. It's not a part of the timeline that has continuously existed and that he always sees. He always sees that there's a point where they arrive there, but he doesn't see. Just like what is it? What's her face? The Sorcerer Supreme before Doctor Strange. Sorcerer Supreme before Doctor Strange could see all points in time, right? When she looked through time, except up to the point where death, which is, I think there's an analog there, right? Because it is, up to the point of his death, but it's also up to the point. Hers is she can't see beyond her death, obviously, but his is he couldn't see beyond what was either his death or when he could see all the timeline. He just, I'm not repeating myself. I already said what I said.
Yeah. So, but Sylvie does what she does, and you kind of get the sense that she regrets it after she did it. Because she pushed Loki away, the little tempad that she used to push him out looks like it had only one charge because it dies out, and it seems like she's probably just stuck there.
Yeah, and really, I mean, I think she probably realizes the same thing that most people who seek revenge realize. Even, I mean, when you end up,
it's bittersweet.
Yeah, you kill, like you go after a person, you want to kill them for some slight they had against you, but you realize that like killing them will never make it better. Like if anything, it just makes it worse. Like then you just killed somebody. And yeah, so she just has to sit with it. And back at the TVA, Loki arrives and he just kind of wallows for a moment in like realizing that she betrayed him and that she was going to go through with this, and kill him and possibly plunge the multiverse into a, madness.
But he takes action. He goes and he finds Mobius and Hunter B-15, and he warns them that there's someone coming, someone dangerous, maybe many variants of this man. There's going to be a war. We messed up. We made a mistake. We shouldn't have done this. And he explains all this to Mobius real quickly. And Mobius tells him, okay, all right, you're an analyst. Calm down. All right. Just take a minute. And he says, what's your name? And we realize that things have changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, Loki looks up and confirms that now one of the statues that used to show the timekeepers now shows Kang, or he remains, at least the image, the same face as him. And yeah, that's Loki season 1.
We get a after credit scene of Loki will return in season 2.
Season wrap. But
season wrap on everyone.
Loki, Sylvie, Hunter B-15.
He Who Remains, Mobius.
Yeah. So Talking points. I mean, what happened in what happened? How did the TVA change? Because it's not on a timeline. This is a big question. How did the TVA change if it's not on a timeline? Like, there's no pat. I guess the TV. And there's the thing is like the TVA. It works. Time works differently there, but I guess it does have a forward progression on time or so. This also I don't know. It's just how did the past change for the TVA?
So here's the thing. I think this show in general has a bit of a let's say downward arc in terms of not completely downwards, but it certainly trends a certain way in terms of general quality, with the exception of, I'd say episode 4 is notably better than episode 3, but the last 2 episodes are the weakest episodes, and the first 4 episodes are on average stronger. And I think part of the issue is the longer we spend dealing with the TVA, there's like a part of the back of my mind, at least for me, where the more details we get of this place, the less it makes sense. Like in episode 1, I was like, this TVA, like I maybe have some questions about it, but it makes sense. But the more it gets explained how stuff works, the less things make sense.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, like, to add to your point, or just bring up things that kind of like go into that. One, so Miss Minutes was like a cool, helpful AI, and then it was like, okay, Miss Minutes is like some sort of weird sentient AI that exists also at in the Citadel at the end of time and links to the TVA directly.
Well, I mean, I suppose he who remains needs some way of exerting influence.
Yeah, I guess so. I just feel like if it's literally beyond a veil at the end of time, you can't temp pad there. Maybe you can temp pad, I guess, out of it because they just didn't know.
Look, he invented temp pads. He invented pruning. He can invent the quantum Miss Minutes.
Yeah, but like, okay, like pruning, right? Like pruning doesn't destroy things. It sends it to a void at the end of time where it gets devoured by a giant cloud thing.
Oh, okay. So here's and he talks about it in his recap. Like, you can't destroy matter, but I found this thing that can destroy matter.
Yeah, I found a thing that eats matter, and that was how I defeated all the other versions of myself.
You cannot destroy, but this thing can.
Yeah. Which here's a, like, I mean, if I was to try and explain it myself, maybe it's not that it destroys matter, just it assimilates it into that form. Like, it devours all things, and.
But then you would think it'd be bigger.
I mean, we didn't see how necessarily big or small it was. Like, even in the distance, it just looked like a giant storm cloud. Like, I mean, it's turning like things that are solid into like basically, an infinite amount of gas and dust or whatever.
But gas is more voluminous form of matter.
Hey, atoms are mostly empty space. So he's breaking them all down into even lesser space.
But what I'm saying is the form of gas is the most expansive form of a molecule of matter to be in. It is literally, gas is the way it works because everything's spread apart. So if this is a big gaseous form, then it should be as big as possible.
Well, they're at a void at the end of time. Maybe there's an infinite amount of space that it exists behind itself. Maybe. I don't know. It doesn't really make a ton of sense. But yeah, I mean, basically, like, the more you got look in the TVA, the less it becomes like all powerful, super amazing thing, and it just becomes kind of like a silly sort of bureaucracy.
Just think about the difference in how you feel about the TVA episode 1, when you're like, this is the ultimate power in the universe. Like, your first interaction with the TVA is Hunter B-15, like slow down time, slapping Loki, and like basically putting him straight in his place, and like instantly a threat. And then like any other time like a Hunter is interacted with, unless there's like a team of them with pruning guns and like Loki and stuff are unarmed, they tend to like just be not that skilled. Like well, I suppose that's the same episode, but like the next time that Loki interacts with Hunter B-15, he beats her, but like that's like yeah. But like over time, the Hunters become less intimidating. Hunter B-15 kind of at every turn after that first interaction, like, gets knocked out or gets possessed or and then Hunter B20, like the little bit that she existed, gets instantly possessed and is disposed of. Like,
They set themselves up as being like a real formidable like task force, and then they just really aren't.
and like it's easy. Like, I think you fairly early had the thought that these people working for the TVA may be variants, and they did turn out to be variants. And so that reveal makes them less interesting,
Yeah,
because like, unless you find out what their past was and that past happens to be interesting, it basically takes away, it just makes them, okay, so these are humans.
yeah, they're just people, which again brings me back to why are they able to beat up Loki? Loki is literally a god. He is more powerful than regular humans. There's no reason that he should have fights with them. Like, oh, and that's one thing. I also
Same
like
thing
don't.
with Sylvie. Sylvie's also a god.
Yeah, they're both Lokis. You know,
Yeah.
they should be on each other's level, but not on the same level as any of the TVA agents. Like they should like be able to just be like wham, like not like punch them and like knock them away, unless there's something that is improved about the TVA agents, like if they have armor or something that makes them better. But that doesn't seem to be the case. Really, they seem to be humans wearing some armors, and their best weapon is that they can like phase a person into nothing. But one thing that's sort of like got me is the Loki's powers. I'm not mad that they expanded Loki's powers, but it just irks me particularly that they sent me on this like weird little goose chase with like, okay, I'm just saying the building, man, the building. A literal building was falling on Loki, and he turned around and forced it away with his powers. And we saw it one more time. He used a telekinetic power to pull Sylvie away, right? He has a telekinesis power. Okay, apparently that's canon. Like Loki can do a telekinesis. And the power of that telekinesis is between pulling people and pushing an entire building away. He also, they also have a green blasty power. It's just like a poof, green energy, dusty stuff that like repels things, right? This very strangely undefined power. Whatever. Hey, comics, Marvel is no stranger to giving superheroes like a power whenever it suits them, and it's not a big deal to me. But it really just breaks my not having that introduced and having it literally just be like a after for like, oh, I'm just gonna lift this building away. We've never seen Loki ever do anything like that before, and all of a sudden he's lifting a building now. Why didn't he ever do that any time before? Like, why didn't he just push Hulk away from him in Avengers? Why didn't he?
But I guess we're more powerful than we think we are.
But he pushed the building away before he realized how much more powerful he thought he was.
But I think we're more powerful than we think we are.
You know, and that here's the thing too, is like, I really like the idea of classic Loki, right? Doing that amazing illusion. And I thought to myself, I was like, wow, it's really cool that they would show us classic Loki doing this. And in him making the statements, I think we're more powerful than we are. I think we're more powerful than we think we are. Yeah,
well, yeah. I don't have the exact line when I'm saying that.
Yeah, but we all know the statement that was made. And the fact that like, it wasn't like, it almost felt like I don't know if it's a red herring or like a check. Like they put this thing in here, and I think that's significant, right? Like I kind of was like, that seems like a significant thing, and I'm led to believe that. And then the next episode, it's totally not significant. Like it was just some throwaway line,
unless it comes up in later seasons. See, a lot of this, I'm willing to give this show so much more credence because, or so much more leeway rather, because it's a season one. And I think that's why I said earlier, me knowing that this was a season finale instead of a miniseries finale, I think allowed me to like see how it ended and be like, okay, yeah. So they went, this is just a season finale. And I'm glad that I knew that beforehand, or I feel like I would have been like genuinely disappointed by like how untied together everything was.
So, I mean, here's the thing. If they come back in the next season and tie back into those moments where they thought they were stronger than this and that, that'd be great. But what would have been, okay, this is what I even thought. Like I had this idea that in this episode, I was kind of waiting for it, right? Like how I thought He Who Remains might like attack them or something, right? And instead of it being really them, it was going to be fake Loki. Or in the moment when Sylvie had her blade up to Loki's throat, I thought it was going to be an illusion, like a very good illusion of Loki, and that he was going to come up and like take her blade in the temp pad and kick her through the door or something like that. or that she was going to do it. Like she could have done that and it would have been way more like, the kiss is cool and all that, but like them tying back to like, I think we're more powerful than we think we are. I made an illusion that's so powerful you didn't know it was. Like that would have been like, you set it up here and we get a payoff here, right? I feel like this show has setups that don't have payoffs within the show.
Not yet, at least.
And that's my point though. This season, so I'm going to wait for a payoff and I'm going to forget about it. You've lost all the impact. Like setting it up for the next episode or 2 episodes or 3 episodes.
See,
that's all fine.
I think you
can't make me wait years for a payoff. Like that's not even a thing anymore. Like we're just moving into a whole different.
No, see, that's the thing. The entire MCU is setting up things so that you want to come back for the payoff the next time around. Like even Endgame left enough loose threads that you're like, okay, all right, I can still see more of this. Falcon is Captain America. Cool. Thor's going off with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Super cool. Like it leaves you enough to come back. The problem is if all you're doing is leaving loose threads and nothing's really tied up. Like I guess they got the goal of killing the timekeeper, but for it to be completely reset, like in an instant, like they don't even get a chance to really perceive the fact that the TVA got taken over by a different Kane. It's just kind of like, cool. I guess I need to watch next season for this all to like, feel better.
And I do not think that's okay, really. I think that's why like this show ends up not being as good as like, okay, again, you said it before, right? WandaVision sets up plenty of things, right? But all the setups within the show have payoffs by the end of the show. And then we have loose threads, right? This is I feel like in Loki, we had a few instances of setups that don't have payoffs and lots of loose threads. Like we have like, oh, look at these little things they're going to like simply they could have tied up all these things. And I'm saying setups in the sense of like little things like that, like the thing with like I had a whole theory that was Lamentus isn't real and it's all an illusion inside of his head, right? And I thought that was all well founded. I thought that was, I feel like there was multiple things setting that up, and then it just wasn't. And it was like, okay, maybe I was just seeing something, but I feel like they gave me like why she tries to enchant him, but his mind's too powerful. Like I don't know that doesn't make any sense. Like to say my mind's too powerful.
I think I feel like that tracks enough. I didn't question it in the moment.
So Elias' mind isn't too powerful. Elias, a giant, massive, like to say, I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that that's not that could not be it. No, it's 2 of them combined, and they're stronger than they think they are. They
conquered Elias with the power of friendship.
Yeah, that whole thing too was just like whatever to me. Like I was just like they conquered him with the power. Like of course, her enchanting is the way to do it. Like whatever, I can hand wave it. But again, that's too much.
Because this is what the He Who Remains deigned to happen. That her enchanting is the way to get them there.
No, I don't think he didn't deign that. He just knew that it was going to happen.
Like, I guess that's fair.
Yeah, it's not like he went and like, oh, I like made it so that Elias would be enchantable.
But he had no decision over that. He's in control of everything. He does make the decisions. Like he's not just aware of everything. He decides everything. He decided that he wanted a change and that these were the 2 to make the change. He said that he looked for different possibilities for the one and he found 2.
Well, here's the thing though. It's not that he can go in and like make Elias susceptible to enchanting. It's that he knows that Elias is susceptible to enchanting and allowed this eventuality to be the one that it came. He can be like the TVA's ability is not that they can change realities into something else, is that they can prevent realities from happening. He can like clip and prune the realities until they lead up to this point.
The point that I'm making is that he deigned to pick a version of Loki who's enchanting, who had the necessary power that Elias is susceptible to.
Yeah, I think it's just like he chose not to prevent it at any point, right?
Yeah,
which essentially, I mean, what you're saying is the same, but the mechanism by which it's done is that he just chose to never prevent it from happening. He could have stepped in at any time, be like, prune, done, dead. Like he could just stop them.
I just think you're presenting him more in a passive sense, and I think of him more as an active player in everything. I think I just think he's making the decision most of the time. Like if the decision is to not do something, that's still like an
Yeah.
act. He's still playing an active role in everything that occurs ever.
Yeah. Well, I understand. Like, I understand and I agree with that. That, like, yes, he is making a decision not to prevent it, right? That he see, like, I mean, his powers are that he can see all time at any time. He can go to any point in
And
time.
he's presumably a genius.
Yeah, he is literally like a beyond genius at this point. He's had an infinite, like, for whatever, he's basically like infinitely old. Like, he's older than time.
Yeah.
So he's had all of multiversal time, to, know things. And, like, he knows everything basically. So, like, but, like, he is not like a god. He doesn't have like magical ability, right? He was able to time turn her away from Sylvie because he knew that she was going to do that.
Mhm.
It's not because he's invulnerable. Like, she just stabbed him with a regular sword and he died. Like,
yeah.
So, like, he's really just that simple. Like, he's just a man with, like, infinite knowledge. And so my whole point is just that, like, I'm not trying to imply that he passively just let things happen, but, like, it's not that he did not, like, go in and make anything happen. He didn't make Eliath susceptible to enchantment. He just allowed these events to happen in the right way.
So we're on this subject, and I feel like we've done a lot of criticizing, but I want to talk about something that I thought was quite good about this episode. And it was I like how in the credits they say special guest star, as if he wasn't the main focus of the entire episode. Jonathan Majors as Kane. I really enjoyed the character he portrayed in this episode. And what I actually find most fascinating about it is that this is probably not who we're going to see going forward, because he's playing this variant of Kane. That's not who we're going to see going forward. So it's interesting just to think that this is this character that we get developed throughout this whole episode, of this whole brand new character, getting to see like his little quirks and like how he operates. Our brain may be trained to perceive him that way going forward, but this guy's dead now. We're going to see a different guy going forward.
Precisely. I totally agree. I think that, I mean, we're going to see a king that is a conqueror next time. This is a king that literally fought a multiversal war and won, and then sat at the end of time for an unknowable amount of time. Like, that's why he's a little weird and quirky and it's kind of crazy. He seems like I could imagine, like, he's older than he looks, but I look at him as like a crackpot old man that's been sitting in a house for, like, alone for a long time. Like, hey kid,
yeah, and
I'm glad you showed up.
He kind of plays it that way, but like without going over the top. Honestly, I think he's definitely the best part of this final episode. But it is the only reason why I think that's in a way also a flaw of the episode is that your finale to the Loki show is
Kang.
Yeah, just Kang for like even when they kill him, you instantly see, oh yeah, he's taken over again. Like, this entire season not only did no good, but probably did a lot of bad.
It was Agatha all along, but it was Kang all along. And here's the thing, but like, right, you have Kang come in. Like, I basically agree, but I think it's like more of a major flaw almost. That's why I like this.
Agatha all along, that's actually a really good comparison, because you get Agatha all along tease at the end of one episode, and then the next episode where you expect to have Agatha fleshed out. No, it's an entire episode devoted to Wanda, the main character.
Exactly. Yeah. In the last episode of Loki, we basically see we watch Kang talk a bunch and Mobius and Hunter B-15 go do stuff, and then there's like a few minutes, just like literally like 2 to 4 minutes. I could probably go like barely any of this episode is really the Loki's doing anything. There is also them approaching the Citadel, but that's literally them just walking up and going, all right, well, we're about to go in. Like, this is a big deal. And then they walk in, and then it's them like just walking through the Citadel. Like, we got through our explanation of this one, just like the last episode, in 20 minutes.
It's honestly, and a lot of that was us just like doing this afterthoughts in the middle of it, because we just had thoughts to expand upon, because so little happened that like we're just like prone to like, okay, let's expand on that, because like it took like 10 minutes for this to occur, but like not that much really happened. Another I don't want to sidetrack us if we're on a point, but does Loki's like turn from definitely killing this guy to, okay, no, let's hear him out. I believe him. Like, does it feel weird that they did come, like, at the end, Loki and Sylvie saw the situation so differently?
I
Like, I think the two actors portrayed it well enough that, like, I believed that that's what those characters were feeling at that moment, but I don't know if I buy them both arriving at those two distinct conclusions the way that they did.
well, I buy it if you accept the thing that she can't trust and he can't be trusted. Similarly, if she can't trust, if she cannot trust what he said, then her decision that it wouldn't be a thing is totally reasonable. And Loki is intelligent enough to listen and be like, well, like I think that he must be telling the truth here. Like it does seem like this, can be true. And so that's the reason I can accept that, right? If we accept that Sylvie's a fundamental flaw, Sylvie is that she can't trust people. I accept that she wouldn't believe him. Otherwise,
Yeah,
it's like, why wouldn't you guys believe him? Like, he's literally the guy at the end of time. Like, he just brought you here to lie to you. Like, it just seems silly.
but I feel like she has expressed moments of trusting Loki. So I don't know. It's yeah, maybe that's a small point, but
And I think that's a part of like you can break the cycle, you can be different, right? Like Sylvie,
yeah.
you can trust somebody, like, and that's part. If you can
And
break that
Loki, you
cycle,
can be deserving of trust.
yeah. And that was the point is that they were supposed to break the cycle with each other. Like her trusting him, um, uh, would break this. That was a breaking of the cycle. Like that he could be a Loki that could be trusted, and she could be a Loki that could trust, but she didn't.
Yeah,
She failed to break the cycle.
but in a way, Loki broke his own cycle, which actually, in a way, I do think another, like, one of the good things about this show is that we get a more or less full character arc on Loki.
Yeah.
And like the Loki we start with is a different Loki than we end with. Whereas every other character in the show feels like has had no arc whatsoever, especially because uh, Mobius and Hunter B-15 get memory resets, presumably, and Sylvie. So like Sylvie's been changed, but like she ended the same person as she began because she made the same decision she would have made in the first episode when she first appears. Like she did not, nothing that happened to her changed how she viewed Kane and the TVA. Nothing swayed her mind, but something swayed Loki. Loki changed in a fundamental way, which in a Loki show, I'd say it's successful to have him be the arc, but it's disappointing that he's the only one.
Yeah. I really come back to that. I like that we get a resolution on him, but like we just get Tom Hiddleston, such a great actor. First couple episodes, man, we get so many moments of him just like really doing a great job. And like this final episode, we really get nothing. Like we barely get we get them and their interaction, but like and that there was like something there in that, but like it just seemed like such a it's focused on the both of them. It's not him it's not like them interacting there at the end, even though that should have been so tense and such a great moment, was almost in my mind not as good as him talking to Mobius in the first episode. I think him having that tense conversation with Mobius in the first episode was better than this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is like we're at the season, whatever. Even if it's a season finale, it's a finale of the season, and like this wasn't one of the most impactful ones. I just this was a decent resolution to some things, but overall, the only thing that excited me about this episode is that I was right. But overall, this episode was not actually through this conversation. I've actually come to realize that this season finale was not as good as I would have hoped.
Yeah, I think looking at a season retrospective, what do I think was the best episode? It's probably either episode 4 because of the Loki and Mobius being pruned moments really did sort of get to me, or episode 1 because it I think episode 1 did so much to set up such a cool potential despite maybe not everything to come after it being as successful as we may have hoped episode 1. I remember leaving episode 1 being like, this is going to be the best Marvel show hands down. And these last 2 episodes did not deliver that, but it's still, though the first 4 episodes, and I know you have problems with episode 3, but even episode 3 for me, because I do think it was a very good character study on Sylvie and Loki together. Like those first 4 episodes, I happily rewatched. Episode 5 I rewatched because I felt that I should, and this last episode I don't think I'm going to rewatch until maybe the next season comes out if I want a reminder, but probably even then maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with this show being over. And it's weirdly like I want to see some things tied up, but here's the thing: by the time we get to the next season of Loki, we'll have resolved so many multiversal things already. Like I don't even know that the next Loki is going to be like about the TVA anymore. It's probably going to be about him like chasing Sylvie around, but like the multiverse or something like that. Like,
see, I'm not sure about that. I think we're going to see stuff in the multiverse occur, but I don't think like Doctor Strange isn't going to end with them like stopping the multiverse of madness. Like Quantum Mania isn't going to end with freaking Ant-Man and the Wasp taking down Kane. Like this stuff's going to play out for a while, and presumably Loki, like if it runs like a standard TV show, we get season 2 next year. Let's just say that that's the assumption. Like it's still going to be early enough in phase 4 that stuff, there's going to be consequences and more setup, but this all remains to be seen.
yeah, I guess you make a good point that I mean, if it acts like a regular season, my thought in my head was like, well, why didn't we get an announcement of it? But I mean, it would be good of them to not announce it and like just leave it as a surprise that we're not going to get a Loki, like that we might get Loki next year, or I would say at the most it would only make sense for them to go 2 years. Like if they do go more than 2 years without, like I'm like it is like I said before, set up with no pay. You can't leave these threads too long. Like we're gonna like kind of be like we're going to lose interest. It's going to lose relevance. I don't see how it's going to even be a more important thing if they don't give it to us late next year and just drop it in. I mean, they probably always had the plan, obviously. They just didn't want to tell us in their release timeline.
Here's a question. Does this show finale, does it succeed where Marvel hoped it would, of keeping you interested to come back for more? Or does the abundance of loose threads diminish any of your excitement for the MCU going forward?
I mean, I'm very excited for the MCU going forward. It's here's no matter what it comes down to, I already predicted that all this was going to happen. I really believed that this was going to happen, and it was really for the show to subvert my expectations and it be something different. But even then, I ultimately, even if Kang wasn't the guy, I believed that this was going to blow the multiverse up. Like I
like, I think everyone saw.
And so
this,
I'm just as looking forward to what's going to happen in the MCU. This doesn't make me feel any less for that.
I think the biggest success is that one, it reframes Loki as a character moving forward, in a stark way that I didn't expect, and it sets up Kane in a way that I'm interested to see more of.
Oh my god, I just had a crazy idea. Okay, so you know how we have we talked in the Black Widow how we have this setup right now for a Dark Avengers, Thunderbolts sort of version. What if Loki is the new Thor?
What if Sylvie is the new Thor?
I mean, yeah, but like we have each of our so far, like our Dark Avenger, like people are not like inherently evil. It's not like they're evil versions of them or anything.
No,
they're just darker, right? Like, you know, they're not like as noble. They're more willing to kill or something like that. And I think that it would play into, and of course it could be Sylvie, I guess, but like Loki is a, you know, more willing to do what Thor is not version of an Asgardian that could be on that team. And also to say, like, in some respects, well, I guess they are probably they're of equivalent power, but yeah. But in any case, I don't know if you have any more to talk about, but I don't.
I'm more or less good. Overall, Loki as a show, B+ because of the ending. But look, I'm still excited for the MCU going forward. But yeah, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, I'll give it a B. So, but that's it. So until next time, I'm Robert.
And I'm Ryan.
Have a good one.
He never did find his glorious purpose, did he?
So we shall see.